Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in, Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you for those that are tuning in via Facebook, watching the live feed. I appreciate that very much. I'll continue to remind everyone a couple different things. Number one, love the fact that we could offer this different vehicles. You could watch us live on Facebook with the feed, trying to get this information out to more and more people. We feel like there's a lot of valuable information, and we hear that from a lot of our listeners that pass that along. So our goal and objective is to continue to grow and get this, again, to more and more people in many different ways that we can. So that's the reason for the live feed. So thank you for those people that, again, participate, join us, ask questions, interact on the live feed. Now, what we'd like you to do is download the podcast, because that way you can listen to the show at your convenience when you can, and that's really the way to best follow the information on Real Estate Radio Live. And the nice thing about the podcast, too, is once you download the podcast, you go back, listen to shows, past shows, and catch up on them. We do a number of different series. If most of you haven't followed the show for a while, we typically have a unique show on we're excited about at least once a week or at least a couple times a month with Jack Russo. And he's in with us on a legal perspective. We have started a show in a series. We've done about 21 or 22 shows now over the last 3 or 4 months, and it's been about starting something new in Silicon Valley. The idea is that Jack has helped us take what it takes to put together a startup. You have an idea, you raise money, you get a team of people, and we've taken you through this series of shows, kind of leading through that, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of information. We get a lot of good feedback from it. And so much of what we talk about in some of these shows that are not directly tied to real estate, but what I think, the reason I think they're important is that these shows are directly tied to the community, to business, to people's lives. And that's why we do this show with Jack and starting something new in Silicon Valley. That's why you'll hear us do shows on what I call the giving back segments. Tomorrow, for instance, we have Kara Jones that is with us, that is talking about a great cause, kidney disease, some kidney issues, not only dealing with she had with her son, and now she's part of a bigger picture, raising money for this great cause. So what I try to do here, obviously, is bring you value, information, education on real estate, every aspect of it. But in addition, we want to bring in the community and bring in other interests that we think people have in the area as well. So appreciate, again, the ongoing support. For that podcast, you go to iTunes and just type in Real Estate Radio Live. You go to our website, and that is RERL-1551.com. That's RERL-1551.com. Anywhere to find the podcast. All right, so the topic today I'm going to talk about is we're in a purchase market. Most of you know, if you're out there, whether you're a realtor in the financing business, you're a mortgage lender, or you're a consumer that is potentially looking to sell or buy a home, this is a purchase market. What do I mean by purchase market? It's driven primarily by purchase right now because rates have come up over the last couple of years. So we're out of a refinance market, really, with a true, solid refinance market for the first time in over a decade or so. And it's affecting the way the business is changing. And so right now, I would call us in a pure purchase market. And what I mean by that, again, is the majority of loans financed, the majority of transactions taking place right now in the real estate and lending industry, it is for purchase, not so much for refinance. It's just kind of to get an idea percentage-wise, is I do about 80% of what I do is purchase transactions, purchase money lending. And so to give you some frame of reference for that, several years ago when we were in the heat of the refinance market, when rates were coming down, people were taking advantage of those. I was, in some cases, we were 70-80% refinance, 20 to 30% purchase. So really interesting in the dynamics and change. So I'm going to talk about the purchase market today and some buyer strategies. The reason why buyer strategies are so important is now we have, you've heard me talk about this the last several weeks, we are in, for the first time in the last 3 or 4 years, really more of a normalized market. What do I mean by that? You actually are in a market right now where buyers do have some options. They have some choices. It's not every situation. We still see some homes that are going on the market that get multiple offers. We're still seeing some homes that are having a lot of interest, and you wouldn't maybe consider some of those homes a buyer's market. But in general, right now, we have more inventory. We have more options for buyers. So I'm going to go through some strategies for buyers in a purchase market, and hopefully to be able to pass on some of this information to you to use. And, of course, this is for directly for the consumer and also for the benefit of the realtor that they're working. If you're working with your realtor, this is the benefit of the realtor as well, to help he or she help navigate. Most of them, of the realtors, if they have been in the business a while, they understand this business. They understand the dynamics of financing, purchase markets, sellers markets, all those types of things. However, the reason why I started this show almost 8 years ago was to continue to educate and inform the consumers. So I think it's a great opportunity. I'm a big believer in education and information. I am a big believer in helping people really gather enough information to make educated decisions and not so much become an expert at this or other things, but have enough information available so that you can make wise decisions in and around your financing and real estate, because it's really important. And for most people, let's face it, this is the most expensive transaction that someone will make in their entire life. For most people. Not all, but for most. So, buyer strategies. What you're going to want to do first when you're working on purchasing a home, first and foremost, I'm going to kind of take you through the process. First and foremost, make sure you're with a lender or someone helping you with your financing that understands what they're doing and you have a relationship with, you trust them. If you haven't worked with someone before, make sure you get referrals for this person, because this is a big deal. I can't tell you how many times I've seen buyers start working with someone on the lending side that they don't know or they haven't have any background with. And there's never any pressure on anybody while you're out looking for a home. The pressure starts on everybody once you get in the contract. Once you get in the contract, that's when you could tell where the rubber hits the road, and the good people that really understand how to work this market and how to understand and navigate the financing will keep things moving. My experience is what happens sometimes if you work with someone that's not experienced or they really don't have a good system in place, once you get in the contract, that's when the chaos starts. I've seen it too many times, and it's very frustrating. It's actually very upsetting and frustrating for the buyers and everybody involved. Again, I can't stress the first part of these strategies. Make sure you're working with a lender you trust. That's what I do. If I could help you in any way, if you're listening to this podcast, I could help anyone out there answer questions, financing, if you need to refinance, you need to purchase. Maybe you just need some strategies. I could help you with that too. That's what I do. We could sit down in person, go through that. We could schedule a phone call and go through these scenarios. It's too important to leave to chance. Something like this is way too important to leave to chance. I mean, imagine finding this home that you finally really love and you enjoy. You can't wait to get this home. You get in the contract to only find out that the lender hasn't done all their due diligence to get you approved, and now you have last-minute changes and last-minute surprises. You don't want to leave that to chance. You just don't want to. So make sure you find someone you trust on the lending side. If you haven't used a person yet, please make sure you ask for referrals. You ask people that have used them. If you haven't used this person, get on the phone, make some phone calls, find out the people that have used this person if they've done a good job and delivered on their promises. Secondly, and just as important, is the realtor you work with. The realtor you work with is the most important part of this, in the sense of he or she finding you the best house, getting you that information. Now, let's face it, now with a more educated and informed consumer, you have a lot of this at your fingertips. So a lot of you already know markets, you see neighborhoods, you understand all this, but you still have to, I can't underscore this enough, you still have to have the right team in place if you want a better chance to succeed. So the realtor is one of the most important parts of this relationships and this transaction. Again, if you have a realtor already that you've used, then that's great, and you're in good shape. You feel like they served you well, then that's good. If you have not used a realtor yet and you need a reference, do the same thing you do for lenders. Make sure you ask family, friends, coworkers, hey, get references, get referrals, call these people, find out what their background is, ask questions, go to their website, get a little idea of how long they've been in the business, get a little idea of how many transactions they close, get an idea of maybe what areas they tend to spend more time in or areas of expertise. Sometimes people have certain focuses on neighborhoods and cities. And it's not right or wrong. It really depends on what your needs are. So make sure, secondly, make sure you have the right realtor to represent you. It's really, really important. And I've used these examples before. People have heard this. We've done blogs on this. I've done shows on this. Learn to ask the right questions. If you learn to ask the right questions, you're going to find out really quick whether this person is the right one for you. I'm telling you, it's amazing if you have the right set of questions, how you will automatically, within a couple of minutes, have a good idea whether this person is a professional, whether this person really knows their business, or if it's the right person for you. You might say, well, how do I know that, Joe? What are these questions like? And those are good. So I'm going to go through a couple of these questions right now, and then we're going to take a break. But real quickly, so here are some of the questions you want to ask your realtor. Here are some of the questions you want to ask the realtor when you meet them for the first time. Ask them a little bit about their marketing strategies. Ask them a little bit about how many buyers they work with. Some people will tell you, well, I'm not a buyer's agent, I'm a listing agent. And that's going to be a problem if they're not used to working with buyers. So you want to find someone that's a strong buyer's agent, someone that's used to representing buyers. Because you know what? Here's what happens if you don't really understand this industry. Representing a buyer, for the most part, is more time consuming and takes more time and energy and patience than it does representing a listing or a seller. It does. Here's why. You're driving people around. You're meeting them. The realtors, they're getting you from place to place. They're getting strategies for you. They're making introductions. They're calling on behalf of the listing agents with the houses they're looking at. They're setting up appointments for you. There's a lot of work that goes into a realtor representing these buyers. It's a lot of work. That's why a lot of these agents would rather just say, I'm a listing agent. I just list homes. And that works fine if it's predominantly a seller's market. But let's face it, we need buyers, right? I mean, this sounds like a funny thing, but if you want a successful seller's market, guess what? You better hope you have a successful buyer's market because you need both. I mean, the imbalance doesn't work, and if it does, as we all know, some of those markets could change swiftly. So you need both. So some of the questions you want to ask, what kind of marketing strategies? What's their background? Are you predominantly a buyer's agent or a listing agent? How many houses can I expect to see a week? What is your schedule like? What are your negotiating skills like? The last 10 people you represented, how long did it take you to get them into contract? How many houses did you look at before they found the right home? Right? How many offers have you submitted? How many offers do you typically submit for an average client? How long does it take till that offer gets accepted? Here's an example. Ask, you've worked with 10 buyers over the last 2 years. Over those 10 buyers, how long have you looked? How many houses did you show them? How many offers did you put in? How many offers got done until you actually got your offer accepted? So you want to hear something like this. Well, hey, I have a really good track record. Listen, I put an average of 2 or 3 offers in before it gets accepted. That's good. If someone says, it's a tough market, I put an average of 10 or 12 offers in, and some buyers never get their offers accepted. It's not that they may not be a good agent. It could be just that they're not taking the right strategies or the right approach, and it's not a right or wrong. But remember, you're getting ready to work with someone that you need to trust that is going to do the best for you in finding you the right home. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to come right back. I'm going to continue talking about buyer's strategies. Again, this is a purchase market we're in right now, and I'm discussing buyer strategies. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Stay with us. We'll be back with you to continue in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Check out BundleSelect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction, real estate, lending, and title. With BundleSelect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. BundleSelect's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling real estate, lending, and title services. BundleSelect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. I'm here to tell you BundleSelect.com is the best way to save money on real estate. By bundling services, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. This savings model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit BundleSelect.com. That's BundleSelect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with the national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004666902.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are watching the live feed on Facebook. And again, we continue to appreciate all of you that have supported the show over the last almost 8 years. The emails, the calls, the interaction back and forth, downloading the thousands of downloads we have each month. We appreciate that. You know, from time to time, I want to remind myself to thank everyone involved with the show, everyone that listens to the show, the people that pass it along and make kind comments. I get a lot of good feedback from the show, and I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot. We spend a lot of time and energy on Real Estate Radio Live to provide you, the consumer, with as much education and information as possible, and we want to continue to do that. Our topic today is purchase market and buyer's strategies. I talked in the first segment a little bit about the purchase market, setting the stage, and then I discussed a little bit about some of the buyer's strategies. And the first two things are really, really important as I took steps in this process. If you want to have a more successful or potential successful strategy in a buyer's strategy, is make sure you get the right lender, make sure you get the right realtor, make sure those two are locked in, ready to go, and working together. So when you have the right realtor, when you have the right lender, make sure that they know each other, make sure that they work together well. Even if they haven't worked together yet, insist, you as the buyer, I'm telling you, here's what happens. Most people rely way too much sometimes, and this is not just in this industry, some people rely way too much on other people's opinions or thoughts instead of articulating your own. And here's what I mean by that. You as a buyer, you the consumer, have this stuff available to you. Think about this. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, I'm going to arm you with more and more information so that you are a more educated buyer when you put that transaction together. And when you hire the realtor, when you hire the lender, you're going to be more educated. You could ask some of these questions. Ask the question of both the lender and the realtor. Ask them if they've worked together. If they have, then say, great. What's the working relationship like? Do you guys work together? Do you communicate well? What's so funny is these questions are not asked enough. We leave it to chance. Most of us consumers, we just automatically think that the transaction's going to go well. We automatically think that these people are going to work together. They don't. Matter of fact, I'm honest with you. Most of you that listen to this show, most transactions have some kinds of problems in them. They just do. Something comes up in the report. Maybe there's damage in the home and you didn't know about it. Maybe there's something that comes up in the appraisal that you didn't know about, the roof report, all these types. So there could be something with the property. And then on the financing side, there's always stuff that comes up. It could be little things. It could be big things. There should be no surprises if you've done your due diligence and you've gotten a pre-approval. But be sure that when you hire the realtor and the lender, make sure they're going to work together. And if they haven't worked together, what I would suggest is seriously having a face-to-face with all three of you or four of you. Really. I mean, most people say, oh, well, I'm too busy for that, and the realtor might say, no, I'm too busy for that, or the lender, I would say, okay, then maybe I'm not hiring the right people. As a buyer, you should dictate that transaction to a certain extent. That is your money, your decision, your loan. You're buying this house. You're being represented, but they don't have that mortgage. They don't have that property. They don't have that property tax. You have it. So what I want you to do, consumer, I'm talking directly to the consumer, what I would like to see you do is become more educated and informed so you take charge of these things. Now, again, not as the expert. Keep getting the expert advice of the lender and the realtor. I'm not saying continue to do that. That absolutely is important. But know that you are important too. And know that you could ask these questions. Don't let either one, the realtor or the lender, don't let them dictate every single aspect of that transaction and try to take control to the extent that you're not comfortable. If you have questions, ask questions. If you're not sure, ask more questions. I tell people all the time when they start, Joe, I've got, people apologize all the time because they call and ask questions. I tell them right away, do not apologize. Seriously. I want people to ask as many questions as possible. To them, it may sound annoying. To them, it may sound like, oh my God, here I am asking Joe another question. That's our job. That is our job, to answer those questions. And if we can't answer them, to go get the answers and come back and deliver them to them. That's our job. If the realtor or the lender says it's not necessary to get together, it's not necessary that I know each other, it's not necessary that we have a meeting, it's not necessary that we have a conference call, I would question whether you work with those people or not. I really would. Because that, to me, that's arrogance and ego. It really is. I'm going to call it like it is. If someone says they're too busy or they're so good that they don't need a phone call, a conference call, a face-to-face meeting, or something with you, when you're about ready to pull the trigger on the biggest transaction of your life, if one of those people, the lender or the realtor, say, we don't need to do that, I don't need to do that, I've been doing this for 20 years, I'm good, I'm this, I'm that. They're using that I'm stuff way too much. I, me. Anytime someone uses that too much, that's a red flag. They should be asking more like, what is right for you, Mr. and Mrs. Consumer? What is right for you? Right? If you ask them, I'd like to schedule a conference call. Absolutely. If that makes you feel more comfortable, we're going to do that for you. Matter of fact, some people will jump the gun. Some of the good realtors and lenders, they'll set it up before you even ask. So as a consumer, what I want, again, is keep you armed with information. So when you get ready, you choose the team, ask them to set up a conference call or face-to-face so that you could ask questions of three of you. And let me tell you why this is so important. It happens too often, and I can't stress this enough. I see people get in the transaction, they don't communicate, there's not a set of expectations there, so guess what happens? Something goes wrong, and someone says, well, you didn't tell me that. Well, wait a minute, I thought the realtor did that. Well, no, wait a minute, I thought the lender took care of that. Well, wait a minute, I thought the title company took care of that. Well, wait a minute. No, you were supposed to make that call. Well, who was supposed to? I'm telling you, this goes on too much. It goes on too much. Here's the problem. In our industry, most people treat it like transactions. You've heard me say this before. You need to be more relational and less transactional. The way you do that is treat people the way they should be treated. Spend the time that they need, educate them, keep them informed, and communicate with them. So again, get the conference call together, the face-to-face, whatever it takes. I would insist on that. And that way you set expectations. Everybody's on the same page working forward. Okay, you're in contract now. Everything's ready to go. Now it's game time. It's go time, as we'd say. And what that means is now you're on a clock. The clock is ticking. 30 days escrow. Boom. Today, we're in escrow for 30 days. So now you're on a ticking time clock, and it's really, really critical that you meet those deadlines. The only way to meet those deadlines, and the only way to do this right, is to make sure you're working with the right team. the lender that you're working with and the realtor that you're working with, make sure that they're communicating with you at each step, each milestone, I'll call them, of that transaction. I'll kind of take you through the milestones of a typical transaction. So you start to work with a lender and a realtor. You get in the contract, right? As soon as you get in the contract, the realtor needs to share the contract and the title information with the lender in order for them to get started and get the file to underwriting as soon as possible and order the appraisal. The lender cannot order the appraisal and get the file initiated and kicked off the right way until they have the contract and the preliminary title information. Okay? So once they get those, then the lender has what they need. They move forward. Now, as a consumer, I know in our company, New American Funding, we have these great milestone emails that goes out to everybody involved at each step of the way. It's great. Why is it great? Because we don't have to stop and think about where are we. So once all the paperwork's in, everybody gets an email. We're putting your file together. We're organizing your paperwork. Next step, your file is now in underwriting. It'll take 2 or 3 days to review. Next step, your file is now approved. Be sure to contact your loan officer because there may be a couple of conditions. There always is, customary, blah, blah. The point is, each time this milestone hits, you get an email, the consumer, the realtor, the lender. Everybody gets an email that tells you where the status is of that file and what the update is. And these are important because one of the biggest complaints of people over the years with real estate and lending is what? What do you think? I'll tell you what the number one complaint is by far. It's a lack of communication and follow-through. They feel like they've done a poor job at communicating with people once they get into the contract. That is the biggest complaint. Service, lack of service, and lack of communication. It is. And here's the problem. People are paying a premium for this. If you're paying a premium for something, you need to get the service level to match that. So, again, you're in process. You have 30 days. We're running this example. Work with someone that has milestones. Work with someone that will check in with you. Work with someone that keeps you updated. That will take a lot of the stress out. Okay? The appraisal comes in. You'll get an update on that. One of the reasons why the appraisal is so important is that you have to make sure that appraisal comes in at value. If you get in the contract for a purchase for $1 million and that appraisal comes in at $950,000, guess what? That's all of a sudden thrown a wrench into this transaction. You need to figure out what that means. Can you finance more? Are you able to finance more? How much are you putting down? It could have an effect on your interest rate. It could have an effect on a lot of things. Make sure that when that appraisal comes in, everybody knows as soon as possible what the value is and what it came in at. The other biggest thing that sometimes takes place in these transactions, you'll hear contingency periods. So typically in a contract, not always, you have these contingency periods. So what that means is in the contract it's written, there's an agreement that says listing agent and representing seller, hey, listen, we're in contract for 30 days. We're going to give you, the buyer, 10 days for your financing and your appraisal contingencies. So that gives you, the buyer, 10 days to have a formal approval in and the appraisal in and done. And the reason why that's important is that contingency period allows you to go through that exercise, and if there's something that shows up that you don't like or you want to back out within that 10-day period, you could back out and not lose your deposit if you decide this place is not right for you. Let's say you get in the contract and you have 10 days, and day 7 you get to report back and there's some structural damage in the foundation you didn't know about. You may want to back out. Let's say the appraisal comes in 6 days later and it doesn't look very good. The appraisal comes in way lower than what you paid. You may want to back out because you have a 10-day contingency period. The contingency periods are in there to protect everybody, really. Some people will say they're in there to protect the buyer. They're in there to protect everybody. They really are. Because it gives everybody time to do their due diligence and their honest assessment of whether they're going to do this or not and whether they want to move forward or not. So you get the appraisal done. Make sure you have these contingency periods. To understand that more, make sure you discuss that with your realtor and your lender. Okay? And then you get close to the close of escrow. You get final loan documents. The loan documents will then go into title, and you sign the title. and then they'll coordinate with you on when the loan funds and then when it records with the county. So then the home is officially yours. So this is just kind of a walk through. I know for some of you that might be listening, you might think, well, I already know all this stuff, and I hope you got a little bit out of it, because these are the types of things I feel like you should have a better understanding of the loan process and the purchase process going into it. Again, you don't have to be an expert, but you should be educated enough to have conversations with the realtor and the lender to know exactly what's going on during that transaction. All right, we're right about out of time, so I hope you, as always, I will hope that someone or those that are listening to the podcast gain some information and some knowledge from this. Again, the topic today, purchase market buyer strategies. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for tuning in today. Until next time, have a great afternoon. Thank you.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.